Now, this is a Texas-based scary campfire story that dates back to the 1800s. The story of the Wolf Girl of Devil River is centered around the notoriously haunted Espantosa Lake, which is loosely translated as haunted by horrors in Spanish, and is often avoided by travelers who fear the ghostly fog that covers the lake each night. Is there any substance behind the haunted location of the Espantosa Lake? You can decide for yourself. Espantosa Lake lies between Crystal City and Carrizo Springs in the South Texas brush country and is one of only 3 natural lakes in Texas, and was formed as an oxbow lake formed in a bend of the old Nueces River when the river changed its course years ago. Now, according to many sources, the Espantosa Lake is also home to evil monsters, ghosts, apparitions, and ghostly sounds of wagons and horses, but along with the Wolf Girl. So would you go to the lake late at night on your own and with the confidence that you would not be scared? That is the real question here. Many who have visited the lake have said they would always hear the hair-raising screams of a woman, with some dismissing this as just the sounds of a panther, a cougar or a puma or a mountain lion, as these animal screams also mimic the sounds of a woman's scream. But others insist that it is the sounds of the Wolf Girl. So it starts early on, and one of the earliest recorded fatal instances occurred in the early 1800s when several Mexican families set up camp there at the Espantosa Lake, and it was as the group prepared to retire for the night when one woman went down to the murky water's edge to wash a few clothes. But soon afterwards, the others were shocked to hear her screams, "Por Dios! My God!" And when they rushed to her towards the water's edge, they arrived only to see the swishing tail of a huge alligator disappearing beneath the lake surface. Now, unable to recover the woman's body, the other settlers erected a cross at the site in her memory. Now, shocked and devastated, the group finally tried to settle down before they left in the morning for their final night at the site, when they were disturbed again by the very same scream ringing out in their ears again and again, "Por Dios, por Dios!" And no one was in any doubt that it was unmistakably the same voice of the woman who had just perished hours earlier. Who was shouting "Por Dios" so many times? What was it? Now, with the talk of this Mexican woman's death and a haunting chant combined with a scattering of similar incidents over the next few years, this soon created a place of myths that Espantosa Lake was haunted. Now, there were numerous tales of treasure, gold and other wares being lost in the area over the years. One such tale was a Spanish wagon from San Saba was filled with money, gold, silver and jewels and found its way to the banks of the Espantosa. The wagoners had decided to camp there for one night, and after they watered and tied up their horses, they fell asleep and bunked down. But it was no sooner had they drifted off to sleep when the ground suddenly began to tremble and shift beneath them. And just like that, and in a flash, the entire party, many people, wagons and horses, were swallowed up with the collapsing earth, and as such, there were just no survivors. So who knows what happened, but it happened again at the Espantosa Lake. Then in 1835, there was a tale of George Dent, also at the Espantosa Lake, who had camped near the lake with his pregnant wife, Molly Dent, whilst they were travelling in close proximity to the Bill Group. Now, they were with a group of American colonists led by Charles Bill, and who had also camped at Lake Espantosa, near what is now Carrizo Springs. George Dent and his wife had wished for privacy, and so George pitched his tent and his cabin about half a mile away from the Bill Group, and thus they were later spared from becoming victims of the Indian massacre that obliterated most of the Bill Group, where a band of Comanches had raided the Bill camp and massacred most of the inhabitants, throwing the bodies of the victims and their carts into the lake. Dent and his wife, being such a distance apart, had avoided this, and at the time Dent's wife was near the end of her pregnancy anyway, and therefore was quite hesitant to travel. It was when a severe thunderstorm occurred one night that Dent's wife went into labour, and then, alarmed, Dent rode off to seek help, and then he stumbled across some Mexican goat herders. He arrived at a Mexican goat ranch at the Pecos Canyon and told the goat herders desperately about his wife's condition, begging for someone to ride back with him to come and assist in the child's delivery. It was when they heard of Dent's camp location that they quickly stopped and informed him They wanted no part of Espantosa's ghostly history, as they were petrified by the location, particularly at night when they feared the spirits were said to roam the lake and its shores. Desperately though, Dent pleaded with them, and eventually he managed to convince one old woman to accompany him back to his camp to help his pregnant wife. So they both got on their horses and started mounting up, as the weather then suddenly worsened, and then the thunder crashed with the lightning illuminating the sky. It was here that suddenly a bolt of lightning violently struck Dent and dropped him off of his horse, killing him instantly. After waiting out the violent storm, the other goat herders got on their horses and followed Dent's rough and vague directions and tried to find his camp where his wife was. And it was by morning they found Dent's campsite, but discovered that his wife Molly was already dead. She had delivered her child, but the baby was now nowhere to be found. Now, after surveying the surrounding area, they noticed fang marks on the woman's body, and then numerous wolf tracks that were everywhere, and they then deliberated that the baby had been carried off by a pack of wolves. The wolf girl, perhaps? Who knows? Did the wolves take this baby away? Did this baby then become the wolf girl of Devil's River? Then around 10 years later, and in 1845, a boy living at San Felipe Springs, Del Rio, reportedly saw a creature with long hair covering its features that looked like a naked girl attacking a herd of goats in the company of a pack of wolves. The young boy reported seeing an unclothed girl devouring a goat alongside the pack of wolves, and it is believed that later this same girl was captured by cowboys who tried to lock her in a shack, but she managed to escape in the middle of the night. Then around a year after this incident in 1846, a Mexican woman at San Felipe claimed she had seen two large wolves and an unclothed young girl devouring a freshly killed goat. The woman noticed that the girl ran initially on all fours, but then rose up and ran on 2 feet, keeping close to the wolves. Then there were similar reports by others in the region during the following year, and Apache stories told of a child's footprints, sometimes accompanied by handprints, having been found amongst the wolf tracks in sandy places along the river. Then in 1852, a surveying party of frontiersmen searching for a new route to El Paso were riding down to the Rio Grande at a bend far above the mouth of Devil's River. They were almost at the water's edge when they saw at close range, sitting on a sandbar, a young woman suckling 2 young wolf cubs. Suddenly she saw them, quickly grabbed the pups and dashed into the brakes at such a rate that it was impossible for the horsemen to follow her. As if that wasn't conclusive enough, then some 15 years later, around 1860, 4 cowboys were herding cattle near the Espantosa Lake, when suddenly a pack of wolves approached and the herders chased the predators off. But as the wolves fled, the men were simply stunned, an unbelievable and shocking sight. It was there they saw the wolves running with what appeared to be a young, naked girl. Was this the wolf girl of Espantosa Lake, perhaps? The wolf girl ran off into the wilderness, never to be seen again. Now, were all of these sightings and incidents Molly Dent's daughter? Was this the wolf girl that everyone had witnessed? Since then, she has never been found, but still stalks the Espantosa Lake forevermore. And this is the reason that the lake still carries the myth of being haunted, and the stories that follow are very eerie and strange, which all add to the murky malevolence within that particular area. Now, the story of the wolf girl of Devil's River reads more like a folktale than a real feral child case, and the large amount of evidence for what happened is all anecdotal. But what do you think of this set of stories and tales of the wolf girl of Devil's River? And do you think that this urban campfire story has some truth to it? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.